Hello, welcome to another on top of 10 video. In today's video I will be presenting to you the top 10 deadliest airplane crashes and collisions in history. Be sure to like and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. Number 10. EgyptAir Flight 990 was a tragic event that occurred on October 31, 1999. The flight was operated by EgyptAir, an Egyptian national airline, and the aircraft involved was a Boeing 767-300R. The flight was en route from Los Angeles International Airport to Cairo International Airport. Unfortunately, the aircraft crashed into the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Nantucket, Massachusetts, in the United States. The incident resulted in the loss of all 217 people on board, and there were no survivors. The cause of the crash was a highly controversial issue, with speculation about possible pilot suicide, but no definitive conclusion was reached. The loss of EgyptAir Flight 990 remains one of the devastating moments in aviation history. Number 9. China Airlines Flight 611 was a devastating aviation accident that occurred on May 25, 2002. The flight was a Boeing 747-200 flying from Chiang Kai-shek International Airport, now Taoyuan International Airport, in Taiwan to Hong Kong International Airport. Midway through the flight, at an altitude of 35,000 feet, the aircraft suffered a catastrophic structural failure, leading to its disintegration. The plane crashed into the Taiwan Strait, scattering debris over a large area. Tragically, all 225 people on board lost their lives, and there were no survivors. The crash site and surrounding waters were extensively searched and investigated to determine the cause of the disaster. The investigation concluded that the accident resulted from metal fatigue and improper repairs made to the aircraft's fuselage nearly 2 decades before the crash, highlighting the importance of meticulous maintenance in aviation safety. Number 8. TWA Flight 800 was a tragic aviation disaster that occurred on July 17, 1996. The flight was a Boeing 747-100 en route from John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York City to Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, France. Shortly after takeoff, the plane experienced an explosion and crashed into the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of East Mauritius, New York. The incident resulted in the tragic loss of all 230 people on board, including 212 passengers and 18 crew members. Despite the efforts of rescue teams, there were no survivors, making it one of the deadliest aviation accidents in American history. The crash site was extensively investigated, with the subsequent official investigation pointing to a fuel tank explosion as the probable cause of the disaster. Number 7. Saudi Flight 163 was a tragic aviation incident that occurred on August 19, 1980. The flight was a Lockheed Il-1011 TriStar operated by Saudi Arabian Airlines, flying from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Shortly after takeoff, a fire broke out in the rear cargo hold of the aircraft. The crew attempted an emergency landing at Riyadh's International Airport, but the fire intensified, causing the plane to crash. Tragically, all 301 people on board lost their lives, with no survivors. The crash site was located near the airport in Riyadh. The investigation revealed that the plane had actually landed safely, but the evacuation was delayed, and the cockpit crew failed to follow proper emergency procedures, leading to the loss of precious time and the inability of passengers and crew to escape the aircraft before the fire engulfed it. This tragic incident highlighted the importance of effective crew training and emergency protocols in ensuring passenger safety. Number 6. Iran Air Flight 655 was a tragic incident that occurred on July 3, 1988, during the Iran-Iraq War. The flight, an Airbus A320B-203, was en route from Bandar Abbas, Iran, to Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Near the Strait of Hormuz, the aircraft was shot down by the United States Navy-guided missile cruiser USS Vincennes, mistaking it for a hostile Iranian fighter jet. All 290 people on board, including 66 children, lost their lives in the crash. There were no survivors or injuries. The crash site was in the Persian Gulf, not far from the Iranian coastline. The incident created significant international controversy, leading to tensions between the United States and Iran and highlighting the importance of improving communication and coordination between military forces to avoid such tragedies in the future. Number 5. Malaysia Airlines Flight 17, also known as MH17, was a tragic incident that occurred on July 17, 2014. The flight was a Boeing 777-200 operated by Malaysia Airlines, traveling from Amsterdam, Netherlands, to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. While flying over the conflict zone in eastern Ukraine during the ongoing Russo-Ukrainian War, the aircraft was shot down by a surface-to-air missile, resulting in the loss of all 298 people on board. There were no survivors, and the crash site was near the village of Hrabov in Donetsk Oblast, Ukraine. The missile strike was attributed to pro-Russian separatists in the region, leading to international outrage and calls for accountability. The tragedy of MH17 highlighted the importance of proper flight path risk assessments and underscored the need for improved measures to protect civilian aircraft from being targeted in conflict zones. Number 4. Air India Flight 182 was a tragic aviation disaster that occurred on June 23, 1985, off the coast of Ireland. The flight was operating on a route from Toronto, Canada, to Delhi, India, with a stopover in Montreal. The aircraft, a Boeing 747-237B, was operated by Air India. The tragedy was a result of a bomb explosion in the cargo hold, planted by Sikh extremists in a retaliatory act during the ongoing Punjab insurgency. The explosion caused the aircraft to disintegrate in midair, and all 329 passengers and crew members on board lost their lives. The wreckage and debris were scattered over the Atlantic Ocean, making recovery efforts challenging. There were no survivors or injuries. The bombing of Air India Flight 182 remains the deadliest act of aviation terrorism prior to the September 11 attacks, and serves as a somber reminder of the devastating consequences of such violent acts on innocent lives. Number 3. The Charki Dadri mid-air collision occurred on November 12, 1996, in Charki Dadri, Haryana, India. The incident involved a commercial aircraft, a Saudi Arabian Airlines Boeing 747-100B and a Kazakhstan Airlines Ilyushin IL-76. Both flights were on their scheduled routes, with the Saudi Arabian Airlines flight traveling from Delhi to Tehran, Saudi Arabia, and the Kazakhstan Airlines flight en route from Chimkent, Kazakhstan, to Delhi. The tragic collision resulted from a combination of factors, including the lack of proper air traffic control procedures and miscommunication between the pilots and controllers. All 349 people on board both planes lost their lives, making it the deadliest mid-air collision in aviation history. There were no survivors, and the crash site witnessed the widespread debris of both aircraft. This devastating incident highlighted the need for enhanced air traffic control systems and improved communication protocols to prevent such disasters in the future. Number 2. Japan Airlines Flight 123, also known as JAL-123, was a tragic aviation accident that occurred on August 12, 1985, in Japan. The flight was operated by Japan Airlines using a Boeing 747SR. The aircraft was on a domestic route from Tokyo Haneda Airport to Osaka Atami Airport. Approximately 12 minutes into the flight, the aircraft suffered a sudden decompression due to a previous repair error that weakened the aircraft's rear pressure bulkhead. The failure resulted in the loss of the aircraft's vertical stabilizer and hydraulics, leading to an uncontrollable descent. The crew struggled to keep the aircraft airborne, but it eventually crashed into a mountain near Asutaka Ridge in Gunma Prefecture, Japan. Tragically, out of the 524 people on board, only 4 survived. The crash of JAL-123 remains the deadliest single aircraft accident in aviation history, and the investigation led to improvements in maintenance and safety practices within the airline industry. Number 1. The Tenerife Airport disaster occurred on March 27, 1977. At Los Rodeos Airport, now Tenerife North Airport in Tenerife, Canary Islands, Spain. It was a collision between the Boeing 747 aircraft, a KLM Royal Dutch Airlines flight and a Pan American World Airways flight. The disaster was primarily caused by heavy fog, which significantly reduced visibility at the airport. Both aircraft were diverted to Tenerife due to a bomb explosion at their original destination, Gran Canaria Airport. As the fog persisted, the KLM aircraft began its takeoff, while the Pan Am aircraft was still on the runway, resulting in a catastrophic collision. Tragically, 583 people lost their lives in the accident, making it the deadliest aviation disaster in history. There were only 61 survivors. The crash site was at the runway intersection, and the incident led to significant improvements in cockpit communication protocols and air traffic control procedures to enhance safety and prevent similar accidents. Thank you so much for watching my video. I'm on top of 10 and I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel. Thank you, and I'll see you in my next video.